Right, you up.
Good morning.
Morning.
You do realize it's 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Get the truck.
Is he watching TV?
The electric one, correct?
Yeah, I got to get stuff off the porch downstairs where I washed it, get it dry.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Morning.
Hi. There's not too many people here.
Give it a minute while Jason gets people muted here.
I'm still letting people in. Big crowd here.
Hey, Martin.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing, Bill?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Holly doesn't look awake.
What? I'm awake. Had my coffee.
I'm having my coffee.
In your special cup, I see.
You betcha. Best part about this cup, it's shaped like a pyramid, so I don't knock it over.
That's good for us old retired folks.
That's right.
Harrison, we'll get you unmuted in a minute.
Is Tim Dara, is he?
Tim is not going to be on this call,
Okay,
and David Spears will not be. He's at a doctor's appointment.
right. Okay, thanks.
Oh,
Joined without audio.
What?
I joined without video.
I should have done that.
Jason, you're going to unmute our committee and Harrison, please.
Everyone is muted right now. Just unmute yourself when you need to speak or would like to speak to avoid the feedback. Getting a lot of feedback.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Excellent.
We can hear you. We can't see you. You look like you're in witness protection.
I'm outside. When you've got 3 kids, you got to find a way to escape the noise.
Yes.
I think we've all been through that.
See if we can get it better. Maybe this will work better.
All right, let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for getting up early. Appreciate it. We did this so that we could fit everybody's schedule in as best we could, and get to hear some important information from Mr. Merrill. Holly, do you have comments for us?
Well, I'm just so glad to see all us old retired folks with our eyes open this early. This is fantastic. And I'm so glad that Harrison could join us so that we could work together on the city's mission of developing and following a really vibrant plan for our city's future. I'm glad to see you, Harrison. I see you better now. Thank you, Bill.
Morning,
That's
Holly.
it.
Great to see you as well.
All right, great. Thank you, Holly. For the committee, attached in your packet was the minutes from our last meeting on February 18th. Hope everybody had a chance to review those. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Thank you. Purpose of this meeting, we've got one thing on the agenda today, as we discussed on our last meeting, was to, really, get Harrison Merrill to give us some input as to kind of what his overall development goals might be. And we've been talking about, some other options as well. So I think it's important that we give Harrison some time here to kind of articulate kind of his thoughts about Sky Valley, and then allow you guys to ask questions as needed, and then we can go from there. So with that, I'd like to introduce Harrison Merrill Jr.
Awesome. Can everyone hear me okay? It seems to be going in and out a little bit.
Yes, I can
Yes.
hear you.
I hear you fine.
Excellent. Well, good morning, and great to see so many faces, and look forward to at some point hopefully getting together and being able to meet everyone in person, hopefully in the future months. So appreciate everyone joining. And just to give an quick overview of our company, what we do is we do master plan developments. We have several out west. In Arizona, we've got a pretty large one in Utah in St. George called Desert Color. We have one at Foxhall Resort here outside of Atlanta. We have one up in North Carolina with Catatoga. And we have a couple more that we're just getting ready to get off the ground that are more just residential. What we really want to look at with Sky Valley, and as we've talked with several groups up there, is we're looking at the opportunity to do a master plan development up there, something in a fairly large scale. One of the things we think is very important for Sky Valley is that it's all master planned and it's done together. We think there's a lot of opportunity up there, being more of a destination. We see it as there's more risk involved as well. But what we love doing is the experiential developments, which is what Sky Valley would be, where we do a lot of just residential. Those are a lot easier to do, a lot less risky. But the experiential ones are the ones that really make a difference, that we believe change communities, change locations. And with Sky Valley's location, natural beauty, and amenities that it already has, it's a great fit. And it's the only place in Georgia that you can get some of the really some of the scenery, some of the activities, some of the weather that y'all have up there. And I had a chance to swing by a couple days ago, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Steve and his team on the golf course do a great job. So what we want to talk about and want to get everyone's feedback is, if we're going to look to do something, we want to make sure we've got the buy-in from the city, that we're working together on a development. Never works when you're not working kind of in alignment with the city. And so we've been working back and forth with Bill on some ideas and what we'd like to do. And the main thing we'd like to do is a mixed use development. We think it would be super important to have several components to it to make it work up there. We think there has to be a destinational draw to us. What we've looked at is looking at bringing the skiing back, something that can draw people in for the seasons where golf is going to be closed, something to really put Sky Valley on the map. The biggest thing we believe is how do we get people to make a right as they're going up to Highlands, or even to take a right by the gas station up there and go up the mountain for their vacation, their stay, or their permanent home. So we think an experiential piece, some kind of amenity, is very important. We also would want to bring a hospitality component. We think that's what will drive a lot of the retail and the restaurants up there for the mixed use. And then the piece that's the easier piece to do, you just want to make sure you have the demand, is the multifamily and single family. Is we'd want to build around the village core, which is where we see the current clubhouse is, and you'd build around that area with retail, restaurants, multifamily, and then you'd have your hospitality and your kind of amenity going up the hill. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We've got other options too, but that would be our ultimate goal for Sky Valley when the time was right, is to be able to really make a difference and put Sky Valley on the map regionally with something that can be a 4 seasons destination. And I'll pause.
Oh, lost you. We lost you for a minute.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he's back.
You're
You're
back.
Okay. Where did I lose y'all?
You finished your overall comments, and then you made another comment that we didn't get.
Okay. I was just going to say if anyone has comments or questions, and we can kind of dive into any of those components in a little more detail.
What kind of time frame are you looking at to try to get this done, this overall master plan done?
It would depend. The biggest thing we would have to have before we could even start would be knowing that the sewer's coming in. None of this works without the sewer. So we would be looking first, we would do a feasibility study. The market's obviously changed so much in the last 18 months, and in a good way, but we would want to get a feasibility study to make sure what we were looking at and proposing was one of the highest and best uses. And then we would go into design work and development. That would take anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. We'd want the city involved in that process. That's when we'd be laying out all the engineering, where the different pieces go. We have some of the basics from what we've done 15 to 17 years ago, but most of that would be changed. So it'd probably be 75% adjustments. So I'd say once we hit the go button, which would mean the city was on board, we were having the sewer coming in, we started the design work, you're probably a 1 year before you start any construction there.
You know, the skiing area that you're talking about is kind of the same area I thought you were kind of thinking about for this development of a kind of a stores and shops and things like that at the bottom of it anyway.
You're
Do you
correct.
have a different idea where a ski area might be, or is that
No,
all
you're
together?
No, it's all together. The key
Okay.
would be it's all together. And yes, you'd use the flat area down below for your mixed use pieces. You'd probably use the ridge. You'd want to make sure people could see it driving up for the hospitality, and you would do your multifamily along the green space or the slopes. And then you'd have your single family obviously surrounding that.
Harrison, would you just review for all the people online what you perceive to be your core property areas for everybody?
Correct. And I'm not, again, be easier if we had a map here, but really where the old clubhouse sits, that all the green space up there and on the sides of that, and then the land behind the church up on that little knoll is what we consider the core, and that's all the way up to the top of where the ski slopes used to be. You'd have multifamily and single family basically surrounding the green space.
How about the property behind our post office area? Do you consider that core area also?
Behind the post office,
Yeah.
no, don't consider it. That would be more, if I'm thinking of the right spot, that would be more single family.
Okay.
Up there, because we have a model from the old ski diagrams where that could be used as a second slope, but I see that a lot more as single family residential up that way.
I know, Harrison, we have been talking to you in regards to your plans, and we're excited to work with you. At this point, I'm not sure that we could support a ski area. What other amenities could you offer to make us a destination type place?
We would have to work through that, because what we do here, I mean, one of what we do right now at Foxhall and up at Catatoga is we don't have a big draw like golf or ski. We use a lot of different recreational amenities. So in my mind, it would be a little different. It wouldn't be as much of a destinational draw, but you're still creating that experience. And what we would look to do is do some stuff from fly fishing, trout fishing. You would have, we would want to make some really significant improvements to some hiking and biking trails, and more of the recreational amenities that are based around the outdoors and the beauty of Sky Valley. That would be a piece we would do regardless. That would be part of it. The big question is if there was something like ski or another destinational draw. And then if not, what will the numbers support, and kind of what does that feasibility study show? But it's not a must. I mean, ski's not a must, but we'd want to look at it. We think it'd be an important draw for a destinational piece, but that's not to say that's the only one. We would just have to look and bring some consultants in of what other ideas, what can we do to have people take a right instead of keep going straight on those roads. A lot of natural beauty, a lot of potential. We would just have to figure out what those other opportunities were.
Right. For everybody here, I know Forward Raven, which is a development type organization, has done a study, and we want to get younger people in our valley, of course. And according to their studies, the millennials and so forth really like outdoor venues such as hiking and canoeing and fishing. So that, that certainly is something we need to look into, like you just said.
Are we taking questions from folks that aren't on council?
Not yet.
Not yet.
In a little while.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they need to ask or say?
Holly, I just had a couple of comments. I think, Harrison, one of the drawbacks to the skiing option is the way Sky Valley's developed and the club has expanded. The weekends here would be concerning from a traffic control standpoint and also from a parking standpoint. So just throwing that out as feedback. And we've been dealing with the sewer issue for a number of years. I think everyone's aware of that. We know it's going to be very costly to bring it up here. But if you were able to come up with some development ideas that met your requirements as well as the city's, do you see us sharing that expense in some manner?
Yeah, absolutely. And I missed the first part. I heard there's a drawback and then I cut out for a second. Do you mind repeating that piece?
I was explaining that one of the concerns about opening up skiing in Sky Valley is how you would control the traffic situation on weekends with just one entry and one exit. combined with the fact that before the club was expanded, you had a parking area that happens to be our driving range now. So if where would you park all of these vehicles if we were able to do that? So that was just some feedback from some of the comments that we on the council had received earlier.
Absolutely. And that is one of the big things. Parking would be a big one. Traffic study would be also a big piece. We'd have to look at, as far as the sewer, what our expectations would be for the city to bring it to the property. And then obviously anything on the property throughout the developments would be done by us. So the trunk line would be brought, the lift station would be brought, and then we would pay for all the tie-ins to the different buildings and all the secondary lines that had to go in.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the committee?
Jim, oh, Jim's got his hand up, but
Is he unmuted?
yeah, he's
Well,
unmuted.
while we're waiting for Jim, just a side comment while we have Harrison, we get questions from our citizens frequently. What's the future of the lodge, the old building, once the CBC church moves out? Do you have any plans to do anything with that?
Not currently. We're looking at options, but we don't have any immediate plans.
Okay.
Harrison, this is Jim Curtis. You mentioned the importance of scale a moment ago. Could you go into that in a little more detail? I understand that we're in a feasibility stage and we don't have, any kind of definite numbers, but what sort of scale in general would you be envisioning by the time we built out?
I'd say for what we look at, and again, we're interested in the big piece. If we're doing it all, there's also ways to parcel pieces off. But if we were to do it, we would be looking at a development that I'd just numbers wise, I would assume would be about 100 million plus through the build out. But again, that's a very generic number depending on what we do. If you break it down, when we were looking at numbers for the skiing, and again, who knows where numbers are today versus even 2 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. But we were looking around 10 million for the amenity piece of it. You're looking around probably 5 million or so for the hospitality. You're looking the retail and the commercial piece would be very variable depending on how that layout looked. And then the rest would be in the residential piece.
Yeah. How big do you think that residential piece would be? I'm not asking for a breakdown between condos and townhomes or single.
Several hundred homes.
Okay. Thank you.
Harrison, would you talk a little bit about what you envision as a hospitality piece?
So yes, so the hospitality in one form of with the market right now and what we've gone through. Hotels not a very attractive word in the financial markets, but we would look at possibly a traditional one, but more likely what we call a horizontal hotel, whereas you're having the same components, but you're building it more in a kind of in different forms. So there's not common hallways, there's not necessarily common elevators. It's maybe through villa buildings or cottages. We've been very successful with that here at Foxhall before the pandemic. And I think a lot of the movement in hospitality in the future is more towards that, towards the vacation rental, but with some of the same components. So it would be a hotel in some sense. It's just a matter of how that would be designed to fit in with whatever the final product was.
So it would be conducive to long-term rentals, you're thinking?
No, the hospitality piece would be more conducive to short-term rentals. but
Okay.
there would be pieces, and I think some on the multifamily side would be more conducive to the long-term rentals. You'd have a
Yeah.
piece, but again, if you didn't have that destination amenity, then I don't think you would. I think that's tied hand in hand with that hospitality piece.
Right.
So if it was something that ended up working from a feasibility standpoint without something like skiing, I don't know that you'd have that hospitality component. I think you'd focus more on the long-term and multifamily.
Right. Right. Okay.
Harrison, some of your property that you own up here is not within that core area. Would, if another developer came along and was interested in doing something, would you entertain selling a piece of it?
Absolutely, especially not in the core area. We would be open. We'd be open to a partnership or just selling it outright, depending on what was being done.
Okay.
How many acres do you own in Sky Valley, Harrison?
Ooh, I think it's around 500, but I am not sure. I would need to
Okay.
check.
Yeah, okay. You had talked also about the possibility of some nature conservancy usage of your property. Is that still in the works?
That's more on my dad's side. He's done those in the past. I haven't been involved. I think you're referring to the conservation easements.
Right.
So I don't know. Currently, none of that's in the works. There's areas we've designated as areas that would make sense. Basically, we're looking at where you're on some of the slopes of the mountain where it'd be difficult for development, but also has some of the beautiful scenery, streams, stuff like that. That's where we would look at some of those potential conservation easements.
I'm not sure what the parameters for the conservation easements are, but can that still be used for trails and so forth, or is it just strictly conservation and we leave it alone?
It depends how it's set up. Typically, they can be used for trails and recreational amenities. They just can't be built on other than, I mean,
Okay.
you could probably do a pavilion or some benches,
Yeah.
but can't be built on as far as any significant development.
I would love to see a map of these designated areas. If you could send that to us, that would be great in our planning endeavors.
Absolutely. I can get with my dad and Brooke, who kind of designed the layout for those and kind of see what they have. I know they were working on those back in the, probably 10 years ago in that
Yeah.
time period. So I'll look back, and conservation easements are a different ballgame today than they were, but happy to send those over, because at the end of the day, whether it's a conservation easement or it's not, it's still going to be used for the same type of stuff by the nature of the terrain and the property.
Great, thank you. That would be great. Anybody else?
Well, I think Rudy had a question.
I had a comment and a question. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I miss seeing you guys. My comment was, if you do the traffic study, I would love to see skiing brought back. That's what brought me to Sky Valley and so many others a long time ago. I understand the numbers have to work, including parking. My question is, across from the post office and the mailbox area and the laundromat area, we have what used to be a really nice free flowing waterfall. Not a waterfall, but a stream with that everything flowed down. And it got filled in a lot of ways because of a storm. It continues to get filled in. And and the street floods. So not only are we losing this natural beauty to Sky Valley, which could really complement anything you're going to do in the core area, we also have flooding issues. Have you looked at that? Has that been addressed? And that would repairing that be part of your plan?
Rudy, I apologize. I got cut out for a second. Do you mind repeating that?
Sure. My first comment was skiing is what brought me to Sky Valley. So if the travel issue and the traffic and the parking issues can be resolved, I would love to see it be brought back. Then my question is, across from the timeshare laundry, across from our mailbox area, was beautiful stream. Actually, it was like a lake in a stream, and it flowed down, and we never had any flooding issues when the dam and everything was working. Everything was fine. Well, several years ago, a storm came through, and the area started to get filled in. Now it's getting more and more filled in. So we're losing our natural beauty that was right there at the core area, as well as every time it rains hard, the street floods. Has that been looked at? Would that be corrected?
Yeah, it'd have to be corrected with any development. I think that's part of the lease we have to the city, I believe, with the trails, but I'm not sure.
Correct.
But yes, that would be looked at. If it was skiing, that would be part of the water source. So yes, that would be fixed up. And my thought would be you're having the parking somewhere.
We lost him again.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but Harrison, I think, dropped off.
Well,
Did I lose y'all?
yes.
For a little while.
Could you repeat your answer, please?
All right, did I lose y'all?
Yeah,
Harrison,
you're back.
Now,
could you
Sorry.
repeat your comments, please? Because we couldn't hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if my kids are downstairs pulling out the different internet wires right now, going in and out. But I was saying, I believe right now that area is leased to the city for the trails,
Correct.
some other stuff. When we are doing the development, yes, we'll come in. That I think will be a big amenity piece, because that'll be the entrance. I assume the parking will be over in that area, wherever it's designed, where that'll be part of the walk to the village core. So I think that will be an important amenity piece. I think you'll probably have some parks, little pocket parks, and maybe some playground kind of leading up to that area. But yes, that'll be a part of coming down to the village core and the water source if we did the skiing. So all of that would have to be adjusted depending on what those water needs were.
Thank you. And I have one more follow-up question. So you said at the beginning that this all hinges on a sewage system for Sky Valley. So can you go into more detail on how that would work in the cost for the taxpayers? Have anybody looked at that, or would that be part of the master plan?
So that is a study that would be done really by the city. I know the city has done a lot of preliminary work. I know it's bringing it a long way. It's working with Rabun County. So Bill, you might be a better one to speak on that, but I know the city's worked on that. I know it is a substantial investment, but I know they've worked on it been looking at it for a long time.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's tying into Rabun County's sewer system, and doing a lift station near the core area there, and pumping that up and over the mountain down to the sewer system. It would not be accessible to the majority of residents. It would primarily be for that development area that we're talking about, and those businesses and some of those residences that are there. That would be the kind of the scope that we now know, and that is estimated to be somewhere around $5 million to complete it.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Any other questions from anyone?
Jason, do we have any questions on the chat?
No.
Jan Mason's waving her hand there.
May I ask a question?
It'll cost you $5, Jan.
All right, well, it's a bill. Yeah, I think I can afford it.
Okay.
I wonder how many acres are we looking at up at the top of the hill above the chapel that they would be developing? About how many acres would that be?
I am not sure what's up there. My guess would be, just ballparking it, would be 6 to 7 acres, but I really have no idea the exact acreage up there.
I think
Taken.
originally that land, that piece of property was going to be another 9-hole golf course. Is that right, Harrison?
Oh, above the church, are
Yeah.
you talking about, Jan, the little knoll or the stuff more behind the post office back there?
Where you, the little knoll where you were talking about a hospitality area
Oh, okay.
and the single family and where the development will be up there.
Yeah,
Have we
I think
hired-
up there above that knoll, you're looking at multifamily, just something overlooking the golf course would be my again, original thought. And all of this is before the people who are much smarter than me come in and make some of those decisions. But my thought would be it'd be multifamily up there overlooking with those views of the golf course. Because that's one of the neatest views in my mind on our property.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Holly, I have another comment, I guess, or question is, I think in some of our prior communications with Mr. Merrill, we had talked about, or he had suggested that we jointly do a feasibility study. Harrison, is that still something you would like to see accomplished?
Absolutely. Like I said, I think the first piece would be working hand in hand on what because if we do the development up there, it's going to be a big part of the city. So we want to make sure it's what the citizens want. It's what everyone wants up there and can be proud of. So the first step in my mind would be in a feasibility study somewhere in the 15 to 20,000 range, but to see, they basically look at the whole city. They give the whole scope of everything. A majority part of that would be the new development, and then also other pieces in there. But yes, I think that would be the first step to get that, what the markets say it'll bear, what opportunities will be there. So I think that would be the initial step that would need to be taken.
Very good.
Got a couple of chats. The question was from Kay to everyone, are winters still cold enough to support consistent skiing? And Jason Streetman added, I have read with new snowmaking technology that snow can be made in weather as warm as 50 degrees. So Harrison, have you guys had any experience with that?
Yeah,
recently?
absolutely. And again, we haven't had any firsthand experience. My brother-in-law actually ran the ski division for CNL, so we get a lot of the feedback from him. But the technology, as someone said on there, has changed dramatically, and that's the reason we would be interested, because to make it successful, obviously trying to guess the weather, you're never going to win at that. So, and it's slowly getting a little warmer. So there's snowmaking equipment. You can make snow in 60, 70 degree weather sometimes. And then you can make a ton when it's the right dew points and stuff where you can cover the slope. It's a little more, the compounds in it are more stable where it doesn't melt as quickly. So the goal would be you're basically guaranteeing a season, which we would probably look at a minimum of from the middle of December through spring break, because you hit those holidays. We've looked at even having a piece of it, a small bunny slope or something open by Thanksgiving. But what you really have to hit is you've got to be able to hit the Christmas holidays, MLK weekend, President's Day weekend, and then spring break. And if you can keep it open past spring break, all the models show it's very successful. If you don't know and you miss some of those, that's where you have some off seasons and have some issues. So we would look at the equipment that you could absolutely make snow in those higher temperatures. More expensive, but the technology's there to make sure we could guarantee seasons and guarantee the revenues coming in.
Great, thank you. One other comment in that area. I mean, making the snow is dependent on water source. Correct?
Correct.
And the area that was done in the past was that pond that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, that would need to be dredged out and redone so that the dam redone so it would hold the water. There may be a little bit of a challenge that with DNR Tony Allred, or if you're on, could you speak to that briefly?
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, we invited DNR to come take a look at that piece of property. We had talked about several ideas to improve it. We were getting some complaints, one because of the flooding, and then it's it can be a little bit unsightly down there too. So we were thinking that we might be able to do something. What we discovered is that stream is designated by the Department of Natural Resources as a primary trout water, which means that you can't do a lot of development along the banks of or in the stream itself without a lot of engineering work involved, and the DNR has to approve it every step of the way. So we looked at several options, and one was just to make it a natural area like it used to be before the lake was built, and that's doable. It's not expensive. We could bring in some very natural foliage, all of the things that attract butterflies and bees and those kinds of things. Build a walking trail around it and put some signage up, letting people know what it is. But it's it's going to be a task one way or another, whatever we decide to do.
Thanks, Tony. So Harrison, that, in the conversations we have, permitting will be interesting journey to dredge that out and redo that lake.
Yeah, anything to do with that ski piece is going to be an interesting journey, because again, the permitting's just so different from anything Georgia has. So we understand, again, all the ideas are ideas, because if you can't get stuff permitted, then you got to look at other uses and options. So totally understand that, and glad y'all have already looked into it to have a start on whatever's done next there.
Great, thanks. I think we have some other chats. Amy would love to see a map of how all this will fit in this one area, specifically how the Sky Valley Way, Berkshire Lane area will be affected. So I think that's probably part of your master plan, right?
Correct. That'll all be done when you're doing the engineering, the studies, and they'll have a rendering of a site layout of that whole area. But from what we've had before, it's a bigger area. It's always a bigger area than you think of where you can put the stuff. And again, sometimes you have to change your original thoughts to utilize some more of the slopes going up. But that'll all be done by engineering. What we say is we come up with the vision we like together with the city, and the engineers are there to make it work.
Yeah, we call those the wait a minute guys.
Exactly.
Hey, this is great, but wait a minute.
We'll always have more than they can actually put on. So you're always pulling back a little bit from the vision to practicality.
Right. There was another question on the chat. Would DNR require a 50-foot buffer from the stream? Tony, I believe that's what they do require, right?
Actually, Bill, I think it's 100 feet. You can't do anything to disturb the soil within 100 feet either side of that creek.
50-foot minimum, 100 is kind of the guideline, right? And
yeah, I think primary trout water is designated as water that would support the natural reproduction of trout. And we had DNR do they came up and tested the shocking, to measure the number of fish that were in there and everything. There aren't many now, but still the water's cold enough and clear enough that it would support it. And there is that dam is a natural barrier to other fish coming upstream. So, to take that off the list or do anything close would require extra engineering.
Okay, thank you. Got another comment from Christian. She's asking Harrison, how's the success of Foxhall? How's that going?
So Foxhall's doing great. It took a big hit like anything else in hospitality for group business, but it's going well. We just actually opened our 20,000 square foot clubhouse. We say not the best timing in the middle of a pandemic, but it's been good because it's allowed us to kind of grow into it. But it's built out. It's got 100 rooms now, a clubhouse, all the amenity pieces, and we're getting ready to open the single family residential. So we're very happy with it. I'm actually here right now. I don't know if you can kind of see in the background any of the buildings behind me, but it's great. But all the hospitality pieces that we've had have taken a huge hit in the last year. They're just starting to come back. But on the other side, all the residential developments have gone gangbusters and have done really well. So hospitality's tough, but the residential side's been very good.
Great, thank you.
Harrison, could you talk about, describe some of the amenities that you do have at Foxhall?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the recreational amenities, and that's what we really focus on having a plethora of, but everything from, we have about 15 miles of hiking, biking, and equestrian trails. We have a horse stables with equestrian boarders and offer equestrian rides. We have about 1.5 miles on the Chattahoochee, the Riverwalk, which is probably the most popular trail we have right there along the river. We've got our sports lawn that has all the recreational amenities that include bocce ball, croquet, volleyball, horseshoes. And then we have what we call our kind of active activities. Other recreational ones, we have 4 swimming pools. We have pickleball, we have tennis, we have incredible fishing all over the property, from largemouth bass to brim to hybrid stripers, catfish, and everything in between. We manage them for different pieces. And then we have our active activities. One is sporting clays, which is like skeet and trap that most people have done, but we've got it where we have a full course. So it really takes the place of what a golf is. It's 15 stations, takes about the same. You go to each station, shoot about 6 to 8 targets. That's our most popular one. That's probably where we've gotten recognition all over the country for that course. Then we have our side-by-side ATV guided trails and guided rides, safari rides where we do nature trails with the kids, and other ones as well. And we're continuing to expand. So we try to get something kind of for each type, for families, for corporations, but for multi-generational purposes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got a follow-up question to Foxhall. Is the question from Christian is that what you envision for Sky Valley or something similar?
No, Foxhall, no. It'll be smaller at Sky Valley and more of a mixed use development. Foxhall is about 1,100 acres, so it's much more of a resort community. So it has a lot of the same components, the experiential amenities, activities, and what's the basis for the hospitality. But Foxhall will be more of a resort with more hospitality than more mixed use and residential. I see more mixed use and residential at Sky Valley, with the other piece being there, but a much smaller piece.
Okay.
Thank you. The other question was, have you considered an amphitheater? That showed up in our survey that we did of our citizens.
Absolutely. As you probably have heard, even on here, we've thought of a lot of things. They all won't fit, but I think that's the fun part where we go through the planning and engineering process, where we bring in those ideas. We'll want that input from the community, because you want stuff, whether it's an amphitheater or some variation of that, where you can have gatherings, where you can have groups, you can have events. That's going to be critical, especially the outdoor space, to be able to tie everything in.
Right.
So yes, we're looking at all those options, and that's the fun part together is when they come up with that, we'll have a lot of ideas and we'll kind of talk through them and settle on different things. But I'm sure there'll be several things that will be outdoor spaces that can be used for multi-purpose.
Great, thank you. What other questions does anyone have? I think there's another chat that popped up. What would happen to the timeshares? Well, yeah, that's kind of beyond our control, but I would think, if there's some more seasonal demand, or we fill in some of the off-season demand, the timeshares would actually be more successful and probably be able to and reinvest some money in improving them.
Yeah,
Do you agree, Ed?
I agree.
Yeah. I think the timeshares would also have to be involved in any sewer plans that we make for the valley also.
Well, and I think Harrison is touching on it too. If skiing's not feasible, then what other amenities that the younger generation could enjoy during the winter time? And there's quite a few things out there that we could expand into, and hence create some desire for people to be up here more in the winter time. So
Yeah.
it would seem to me that this, maybe we're getting closer and closer to maybe partnering with Mayoral and doing some type of a feasibility study to get specifics.
Agree. Any other chat questions, Bill?
Yeah. It's from Kay. What are the current number of units? I'm assuming she's talking about the timeshares. And is this addition doubling this? Who pays for the infrastructure expansion to facilitate? No, she's saying no, all of Sky Valley. What are the current number of units, and is this addition doubling this? And who pays for the infrastructure expansion to facilitate the increase? So I'm assuming we're talking about sewer. I'm not so sure I understand the question. Sewer and roads. So the question is, who pays for the sewer and the roads?
So, and again, in our experience, what we've seen is kind of the trunk line sewer and roads are done by the municipality, and anything within the development, the secondary roads, the connector roads, and all of that would be done as part of the master plan. And you tie into the other roads to make it obviously as efficient as we could. But I do think, as y'all mentioned, for the skiing, what would have to be looked at is the widening of the roads depending on the traffic study. We would expect that to be from the city. Anything connector roads, anything going around the development inside the development would all be done by the master plan group that comes in, or by whoever's developing it.
Thanks. Anything else from anyone? Okay. Harrison, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, great to see everyone, and thank y'all for letting us share our vision. And the key for us, we want it to be something. We've got a lot of developments going on. Sky Valley is one of those what we call special ones that can be so much, but no specific time frame. But we'd love to get started and start doing some of those studies and kind of see what would make a difference for Sky Valley and make everyone on this call and everyone else in the community proud.
Great.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Y'all have a great day and a great weekend.
You too. Go be with your kids.
I will.
Thank you, Harrison.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Talk
You
to you
too.
later. All right. Any other comments from the committee?
I'm pleased to see as many participants in this meeting. This has been fantastic. And your citizen questions are great.
Yep, that's what we need.
Hmm.
Okay. So the one question that came up, what are the next steps and time frame? So the next steps will be the council or the committee will discuss, what we've just heard, and then make a recommendation to Madam Mayor. And that would be discussed then with the council. And then we would go from there. Anything else, Madam Mayor?
Do you think that we need to involve the P&Z committee in this also, Bill?
Yeah, I think eventually, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ed, what do you think? Or Dan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree. Let me see. Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
unmuted.
I mean, whatever the plan comes up with, we're going to have to tie it into our current land use plan.
Right.
And that will, if that needs to be tweaked in some way or whether it meshes perfectly, remains to be seen.
Right. So I think the big decisions are, do we want to move forward on the sewer piece? And a lot of work's got to be done there. And there may be some grants and some other funding available to that, Holly, based on our conversation with the Georgia Mountain Regional Commission.
Right. Right.
So we'll need to dig into that some more.
Yep.
And the feasibility study.
That was it. Yeah.
Is probably a next step. That's really important for a couple reasons. One, it will kind of show what might be available or what the size of the investment should be, so that the Mayorals reach their ROI expectations, etc. From the city standpoint, having that done, also what I would think would help us as we apply for other grants and other funding sources from the state and federal.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just an application on what we say, but if there's a professional study done, that really would enhance our ability potentially to gain some more funding options.
Right.
Bill,
Right.
I don't know how to chat.
Okay. If there's nothing else, then do I
I
hear a
think
motion?
Barbara Kobacker was trying to get a question in there.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I don't know how to chat, but here's my thought. There was a feasibility study done back several years ago. Does your committee have access to that? It was a feasibility study done by the council, and I think the P&Z was involved, and Harrison Mayoral. And you might want to pull that old one up just for a basis of history. Thank you.
Great.
We do actually have a copy of that, Barbara.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. All right. I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Y'all have a great day.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
See you later, Martin.
Okay, yes.